Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Let's take a moment to really appreciate the job that Paul Chryst has done at Wisconsin. The Badgers have won at least 10 games in 4 of the 5 seasons under Chryst. The only exception to that was in 2018 when the Badgers went 8-5. And Paul Chryst made sure to show that 2018 was just a fluke, as the Badgers bounced right back in 2019, going 10-4, winning the Big Ten West, and making their first Rose Bowl appearance in 7 years before falling to Justin Herbert and Oregon by just 1 point. This is a Badgers team that's extremely experienced in 2020 and is poised yet again to win the Big Ten West. We take a look at the offense first. A side of the ball that returns 6 starters from last year's squad, but they lose their biggest playmaker in Jonathan Taylor, who had over 2,200 total yards last year and 26 touchdowns. That's a huge, huge loss for a Wisconsin team that relied so much on the run. When you heard Wisconsin, you immediately thought of Jonathan Taylor. Now they're going to have to rely more on Nakia Watson, the backup to Jonathan Taylor, who had a little over 300 rushing yards last year, and they might rely more heavily on their quarterback in Jack Coan, who I thought played great, phenomenal actually, in his first full season as a starter with the Badgers, throwing for over 2,700 yards, 18 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. He's going to be the major player for Wisconsin this year, and their offensive line is certainly something that's going to have to make sure they're ready to go for week 1 as they lose their star in Tyler Biadasz. If they're not ready to go, Wisconsin could struggle a little bit because we know their bread and butter is running the football right behind the big guys up front. Defensively, Wisconsin will once again have one of the best defenses in the country. They returned 9 starters from a unit that was 4th in total defense last year and allowed just 16.9 points per game. They do lose their stars in Chris Orr and Zach Bond, who combined for 24 sacks in 2019. But practically everybody else returns, and this is going to be one of the top units, not just in the Big Ten, but in the entire country. We take a look at their schedule here. Wisconsin does not get a cupcake opponent to open up the season against. They have no room for error on a Friday night matchup against Indiana, jumping right in to Big Ten play. And this is an Indiana team that the Badgers cannot afford to overlook. If they're having a little bit of offensive struggles, Indiana could easily take advantage of that and shock the Badgers at Camp Randall Stadium. The Hoosiers returned 17 starters from an historic squad last year that won 8 games for the first time in 26 years. Michael Penix is back at quarterback. Stevie Scott is back at running back. Watt Fillier is back at wide receiver. And the defense allowed just a little over 24 points per game. Wisconsin is not necessarily a high-scoring team. This could be a relatively low-scoring game, as maybe the offense struggles a little bit, and while the defense keeps Indiana in check. But I like the Badgers to get the win here at home. I like for them to open up the season 1-0 on the year, 1-0 in Big Ten Conference play. Because while Indiana is a very dangerous offensive team, another key stat you have to keep in mind is that Wisconsin owned the time of possession last year, was the top team when it came to time of possession in the country last year, holding the ball for 35 minutes and 37 seconds on average in 2019. Which means every possession that their opponent has to count. Because if Wisconsin holds the ball for that long and can get points out of it, they're not going to have many opportunities. The opponents are not going to have many opportunities offensively to go down there and score. And that's going to be something that Indiana has to watch out for, as well as every other opponent on the Badgers' schedule. We have them beating Southern Illinois in Week 2. And then we have Appalachian State here, certainly a team that the Badgers cannot overlook. A team that went 13-1 last year, won the Sun Belt, beat North Carolina and South Carolina both on the road last year, and have 9 starters back on their offense, including their star quarterback in Zach Thomas. They're led by a brand new head coach in Sean Clark, but I do think Wisconsin takes care of business here against the Mountaineers. Appalachian State's one of those pesky group of 5 teams that you can never overlook. Just because of the history, going all the way back to 2007 when they beat Michigan, but also how well they've played recently under Eli Drinkwitz and Scott Satterfield. They then get their first really big test to round out September on the road at Michigan. Last year, Wisconsin annihilated Michigan. They exposed Michigan. Really showed that the Wolverines were a tad bit overrated that early on in the season, as they defeated the Wolverines 35-14 and pounded that really good defense with 359 rushing yards. They, of course, don't have that liberty this year. They don't have Jonathan Taylor to carry that load. It's going to be Nakia Watson or Garrett Groshek that's going to have to really break out at running back. Michigan, they're going to get a new quarterback. More than likely, Dylan McCaffrey, who gives them a little bit more of a dual threat ability here. Michigan under Jim Harbaugh is 30-5 at home. And I think that improves with a win over Wisconsin. I think the Badgers take their first loss against the Wolverines. A defense that's once again going to rank in the top 15 in the country. And an offense that I really think under Josh Gaddis will improve. Year 2 under Josh Gaddis, I think the offense takes another step forward, enough to get a win over Wisconsin in what could be a relatively low-scoring game. The Badgers then take on Notre Dame and Green Bay. And I love this game, not just because it's 2 great opponents, Notre Dame and Wisconsin, 2 great programs, but I love it because they're playing at Lambeau Field, so a very historic site for a great football game. The Fighting Irish returned 7 starters offensively, none bigger than their quarterback in Ian Book. They return a very strong offensive line to go along with that, but Ian Book, by the time this game rolls around, is going to have to form some sort of bond and chemistry with his wide receivers, as he does lose his top 3 pass catchers from 2019. Notre Dame's defense, though, is another unit that doesn't get a lot of respect and enough attention. They returned 5 starters from a team that allowed just 17.9 points per game last year, and they wreaked havoc in the backfield. They did a great job at pressuring the quarterback, and that's something that Jack Coan and Wisconsin are going to have to be prepared for, especially if that offensive line is not necessarily up to Wisconsin standards. So in Green Bay, in the state of Wisconsin, not a true home game, but they do have that kind of in-state home field advantage, I predict a loss for the Badgers. I think this is a very good Fighting Irish team. I think Ian Book has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think he's going to be able to move the ball very well against this Wisconsin defense, and I don't know if the Wisconsin offense has enough yet to really go up against this Notre Dame defense and rack up enough points. Wisconsin's not a team that you can really see winning in the shootout. Not saying this will be one, but I don't think they get the win over the Fighting Irish, and they get back-to-back losses sitting at 3-2. Season is not over, though, because they only have 1 conference loss. The season could be over if they were to lose here at Minnesota or against Minnesota on October 10th. Last year, the game against the Golden Gophers decided who won the Big Ten West. And Wisconsin, I think, surprised a lot of people by going on the road and beating a very good Minnesota team 38-17. You know PJ Fleck and the Golden Gophers want revenge in this game. You know Minnesota is hungry to come steal one from Camp Randall Stadium, a game that ultimately could decide who wins the Western Division. Everybody wants to get revenge. You just aren't always able to get it. And Minnesota will not be able to get it. Wisconsin wins yet another game over the Golden Gophers. A huge win that could end up giving the Badgers the Big Ten West. I love Tanner Morgan. I love PJ Fleck. I love everything about this Minnesota team. But I do think they take a couple steps back defensively, and home field advantage will play a role in this game. A bye week on October 17th, going into a road game at Maryland. I mark that down as a quick and easy victory. Maryland's a team that went 3-9 last year, concluded 2019 on a 7-game losing streak. They have to stay healthy at quarterback with Josh Jackson, and they've got to do a lot better defensively. They have to do so much better defensively. And what I see here is a lot of 3-and-outs by Maryland. I see a lot of 3-and-outs forced by this Wisconsin defense, and that means the Wisconsin offense is going to wear down a weak Maryland defense and really take care of easy business at College Park. They then get Illinois on Halloween, and if you want to talk about revenge, this is the revenge game for the Badgers. Because last year in Champaign, they were stunned by a 2-win Illinois team, losing 24-23 as the 6th-ranked team in the country, sitting at 6-0. Wisconsin had the lead. They were up by 9 points, 23-14, and allowed 10 unanswered to hand them their first loss. So you know Wisconsin's hungry for the Fighting Illini. They are waiting for Lovie Smith and the Fighting Illini to come up to Madison, and they're going to try to put a huge beatdown on what should be a very good Illinois team. The schedule is very tough for them, but they do return quite a bit of experience. Top 4 pass catchers return for Brandon Peters, and 5 starters return defensively. But at Camp Randall Stadium, with revenge on their mind, with a very strong defense from Wisconsin, I don't see any way Illinois comes in here and steals a win. Wisconsin gets revenge over the Fighting Illini for that upset loss they were handed to last year. They then faced Northwestern in Chicago. Wisconsin only won this game by 9 points last year. It still blows my mind. With as bad as Northwestern was, with as bad as their offense was, Wisconsin at home was only able to win 24-15. A lot of those was due in part to turnovers and pick sixes and special team touchdowns. The offense didn't do much against Northwestern. Granted, the Wildcats did have a very good defense despite a 3-9 season. Pat Fitzgerald's squad will be much better in 2020. They get Peyton Ramsey, the transfer quarterback from Indiana. The defense is mostly senior-led, so expect a relatively closer game here in Chicago. Expect it to be a similar game that we saw last year. But ultimately, Northwestern is still a ways away from competing with the big dogs, from beating Minnesota, from beating Wisconsin, from beating some big dogs in the East. And in Chicago, Wisconsin gets another win. I like them to get a win over Purdue. I like them to get a win over Nebraska. Purdue's a team that Wisconsin can't afford to overlook with this game being on the road. They beat them 45-24 last year, and that was with a very beat-up Boilermakers squad. They just got hit with injury after injury after injury. That included to Elijah Sindelar, their quarterback, and their star wide receiver in Rondale Moore. If Jack Plummer can live up to the hype, if Jack Plummer can get the ball out to his speedy wide receivers and David Bell and Rondale Moore, assuming they can all stay healthy, the Boilermakers can bounce back and get back to the postseason, which means they can give this Wisconsin defense a huge test, especially with this game being on the road for the Badgers. But I don't think they have enough to get the win. Wisconsin wins on the road. Wisconsin defeats Nebraska at home, defeating them 37-21 on the road last year. Like Purdue, Nebraska needs Adrian Martinez to stay healthy. He's their key. If he doesn't stay healthy, Nebraska does not get to a bowl game for the 3rd straight year under Scott Frost. It's a huge, huge year from him. It would be great to come on the road and get a win over Wisconsin, but I don't see many teams coming into Camp Randall Stadium and being able to do that. Nebraska, a team that's won just 9 games in the past 2 years, certainly will not be that, especially this late in the season, especially with Wisconsin trying to clinch a Big Ten West title. They then go on the road to face off against Iowa, a team they defeated 24-22 at home last year. As we know, Kinnick Stadium is a very difficult place to play, one of the most difficult places to play in the country, in my opinion. Iowa has to find themselves a quarterback. They'll certainly have one by the season finale, and more than likely it will be Spencer Petras. Many believe that Iowa has one of the deepest wide receiver cores they've had in a very, very long time. And like Wisconsin, you always know that Iowa is going to have a very strong defense. And this year they returned 5 starters on that side of the ball. Kirk Ferentz, Paul Chryst, 2 great minds going at it, but I like the Hawkeyes to get the win at home in the season finale, an Iowa team that is going to contend for the Western title with Wisconsin and Minnesota. And you can't help but wonder, will this game maybe play a huge role in the standings and determine whether Wisconsin still gets in, whether Iowa gets in, or maybe this game right here will really benefit Minnesota, as it will be Wisconsin's 2nd conference loss and give the Golden Gophers the edge as they make the Big Ten championship. It's going to be a 3-team race in the Big Ten West Division, and we have the Badgers finishing 9-3 this year with 2 Big Ten conference losses to Iowa on the road and Michigan on the road. If they have the tiebreaker over Minnesota, if it comes to that, they will not have the tiebreaker over Iowa if it were to come to that. It's going to be very interesting in a wide-open Big Ten West, but nonetheless, the Badgers have a chance to clinch their 5th 10-win season in the past 6 years under Paul Chryst. Still an unbelievable job that he's doing up in Madison. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out everything we have for you down in the description below for some exclusive college football news, content, and offers that you do not want to miss. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.